Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down
Hey folks, welcome back to Miss Nightmare Reviews. Now, hands up if any of you have heard of the Twilight Zone franchise. Alright. All of you, that's good. Now, hands up if you heard of the Tales from the Darkside franchise. Oh, only a couple of you raised your hands. That's embarrassing. But for those of you who don't really know what this series is about, I'm gonna tell you. Tales from the Darkside, created by George A. Romero of Creepshow 1 and 2 and some zombie films you might have heard of, made the series originally as a Creepshow TV show. But Warner Brothers owned certain aspects of the film franchise, so they changed the name to reflect the horror comics of the 1950s. Minus the comic book style. The TV show featured stories ranging from horror to science fiction to fantasy and even mystery. After the show was succeeded by Monsters, another horror anthology, Romero set out to make a feature-length film based off the series. Which brings us to today's review on Tales from the Darkside, the movie. Or another name that some fans and Tom Savini call it, the unofficial Creepshow 3. Released May 4th, 1990 by Paramount Pictures, it was the successor to the first two Creepshow films, starring many of the crew from both installments. Yet for a horror anthology film, I hear no horror fans talk about this. For how I discovered it, well, a couple years back I found it on Netflix, loved it, and watched it over and over again. Which is why I want to talk about this film on this show. And also because it's all Hallows Eve. So sit back, folks, relax, as we dive into Tales from the Darkside, the movie. The film starts off in a small town as we follow Betty, played by Debbie Harry, running some errands before arriving back home to prepare for a dinner party. But it seems she's not alone. It's a monster, it's so obvious!
Look at this floor. I thought you loved chocolate chip cookies.
What difference does it make? Let me out of here! Help!
Never mind, it's just a child. Oh, wait. It seems that Timmy, played by Matthew Lawrence, was tricked by Betty, who is revealed to be a witch, into her house and imprisoned him. But why, you ask? Why to be the main course for her dinner party? After giving the young boy a book with a tile drop from her childhood, Timmy uses it to his advantage to stall the witch as the oven preheats for the next hour and a half, aka our wraparound story in between the tales being told. The first story is Lot 249, written by Michael McDowell and adapted from a short story from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, a writer known as the creator of Sherlock Holmes. We come across two university students, Christian Slater playing Andy and his best friend Lee. In the scene we learn that Lee and Andy's sister, Susan, cheated another student, Edward Bellingham, out of his scholarship by having Susan write Lee's master's thesis for him. As the two head to Andy's dorm, they run into Bellingham, played by...
Edward. How you doing?
Can I introduce me to your friend?
Yeah, this is...
Lee Mockton, right?
Holy crap, Steve Buscemi's young! Actually, he reminds me of Khan. I'm gonna ask him later. After Lee tips the movers that brought in Lot 249, Andy suggests the favor be repaid by having Bellingham show them what's inside the crate.
Actually, if Lot 249 lives up to my expectations, it won't matter that I was cheated out of Penrose. Cheated? Yeah, something very unfortunate happened to me the day before the committee was to announce its decision. I was accused of stealing a pre-Columbian Zuni fetish from the museum.
Did you? I loathe Zuni aesthetics.
You're not leaving here until you see what's inside Lot 249. That was the deal.
My God, Andy, it looks just like your father.
Funny. I was gonna say the same thing about your father. Oh! Burn! After seeing it, Lee excuses himself while Bellingham and Andy start an examination of said mummy. He heads to Susan's place, with Susan being played by Julianne Moore in her first major film role. You may know her from either this,
Sarah!
or this.
The word itself makes some men uncomfortable. Vagina.
She casually tells him that she was the one who framed Bellingham for the theft earlier because...
Bellingham's a loser. He can't do anything.
Oh girl, you do not mess with Steve Buscemi. He's played some awesome characters, so you don't get to call him a loser. Now that I think about it, this is your first film role together with him. I mean, this is way before you two started together a few years later in The Big Lebowski. Oh my god, Steve Buscemi's mailing 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Da-da-da. Meanwhile, Bellingham and Andy continue the examination of the mummy.
He's not thinking anything. First thing the embalmers did was to stick a metal hook up his nose, and they dragged his brain out through his nostrils.
Foreshadowing. Getting his hands deep in the mummy, Edward finds...
Fortune cookie.
What does it say?
I have no idea. Do you know how to read Third Kingdom hieroglyphics?
This scene is well done that if you weren't paying attention, you would have missed Bellingham's facial expressions. The moment he unrolls the scroll, looks at it, and realizes what it contains, it's all subtle. Because at that moment, he's figured out the key to get revenge on those who robbed him. Later that night, Edward reads the incantation in the scroll, awakening the mummy to his command. The first target is none other than Lee, who tries to defend himself with the tennis racket. Okay, seriously? A tennis racket? What about frying pans? You're literally in the kitchen. We've learned our Rapunzel are good weapons to use to defend yourself. While the mummy's weapon of choice is a wire hanger. No, I'm not doing the joke. It's been done to death. And uses it to scoop out Lee's brain out like ice cream. Look, the mummy made her a fruit brain sundae. After Lee's funeral, Susan reveals to Annie that she did see the killer that night, giving him a description of what she saw.
He was thin and filthy and stinking.
Billy Butcherson? Andy goes out to confront Bellingham, discovering that he's leaving the university because of the accused theft from earlier. We see that the mummy is gone from his sarcophagus, with Andy asking where it is, and getting only a smile from Edward as a response. It's so that the character says nothing and conveys to us, the audience, exactly where the mummy is, targeting its next victim. Andy's sister Susan. Arriving too late to save his sister, there's only one thing Andy can think of.
Revenge.
First, he turns the power off in the building to lure Edward out, knowing that the fuse box is by his dorm. Andy knocks him out and ties him up. Edward wakes up to read the incantation by memory, only to have his mouth duct taped shut. Sure, it brings the mummy to life, but Andy, now in full crazy Slater mode, brought an electric knife to chop the supernatural being into pieces. After cutting off all its limbs, he burns them into the fireplace. And finally, Andy burns the scroll as he attempts to kill Bellingham, covered in gasoline. Until he says this.
Killing me won't bring them back.
Well, if I let you live, that will bring them back?
The next day, Edward leaves university as we learn that Andy didn't burn the real scroll. How, you may ask?
Oh, I was just thinking of this guy I know. Couldn't distinguish a 3rd Dynasty sacred scroll from a piece of post-Alexandrine pictogram porn.
Which means that Bellingham has read the incantation again. Yet, there are no mummies left. Well, audience, who said it just reanimated mummies?
Bellingham sends his regards.
At least Andy got to see his sister and best friend again. Right before they murder him. Like you do. The second story, The Cat from Hell, was originally for Creepshow 2, but was dropped due to budgetary reasons. George A. Romero adapted this tale written by horror legend Stephen King. It tells the story of Drogon, played by the late William Hickey, hires a hitman named Holston, played by David Johansen, or better known as Buster Poindexter, to kill someone. And who, you may ask?
Your victim is right behind you.
Huh, it's Jumpy the Jump Scare Cat's origin story.
Who?
Mass Slasher's cat.
Oh, it's a cute kitty.
Try telling that to the production crew. That cat was untrained during the film.
Oh, I learned something new today.
Drogon tells Holston how the cat first appeared, every time being scared off by the butler, but it kept coming back. Until one day, it was taken in by his sister Amanda and her best friend, the librarian from Ghostbusters. The past few days, at the stroke of midnight, Drogon claims the cat kills someone. First it was his sister, then the librarian, and finally the butler. Yet the hitman brings up something he doesn't understand.
No one actually witnessed any of these deaths you described. So what makes you think this cat had anything to do with it?
I'm sure it killed them. It killed them all. And I'm next.
Why is Jumpy after Dr. Finkelstein?
The reason? He owns a pharmaceutical company that killed 5,000 cats testing a new drug they were working on over the years. He believes this one cat is here to exact cosmic revenge.
5,000? Those poor cats.
Mokana, this is a movie, remember?
Oh, well, this feels make me root for the cat now.
Agreed. With that, Drogon heads out of the house, leaving Holston to kill the feline. Oh sure, the hitman does try, but every attempt he does, it falls short. From guns to lethal ejection, the cat avoids them all, attacking Holston every time he fails. In the end, midnight strikes as the cat attacks the hitman by... Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Man, that does not age well. You can clearly tell that cat is fake. Are you okay, Mokana?
I'll never look at Jumpy the same way again.
The next day, Drogon comes back home to discover Holston dead. Then the clock that hitman shot from before starts to chime the midnight hour again. Which means... No, I'm never gonna look at Jumpy the same way again.
Told ya.
And the tale ends with Drogon getting a fatal heart attack from the cat. Thus the revenge has finally been delivered. Our final story, The Lover's Vow, was once again written by Michael McDowell. This time around, though, it's adapted from a Japanese folklore. Though all of you are probably asking me, which one isn't I? Can you tell us, please? Well, I'm not going to tell you this time around. I'm going to let you guys figure it out as we go along in this review. Makes it fun. We're introduced to Preston, played by James Remar, who is a struggling artist who seems to be having a string of bad luck. None of his art has sold at any galleries, he has a bad case of artist block, and gets stumped by his agent at a bar later that night. The struggles of an artist is a tough life. I see it all the time. Ask Casey. Okay. Who wants to pay rent for the next 6 months then? Never mind. I retract my previous statement. I thought so.
Ha! You just got served.
After getting drunk, Preston leaves with Jared, the owner of the bar. Jared then hears a strange noise coming from the dark, spooky alley they're in.
Help me!
Get killed? Walk it off.
Preston tries to escape until he's stopped by the monster, a gargoyle, who lets the artist live, but with one condition.
You must swear you'll never say you saw me. Never say you heard me speak. Never tell anyone how I look. Never repeat what I have said. A promise. Forever.
You gotta be kidding. I promise.
Cross your heart.
I promise.
Oh, come on! You forgot to stick a needle in your eye. That way the promise will be tightly secured. Escaping the scene of the crime, he yanks a young woman off the streets named Carola, mainly because in his confusion, he thinks the gargoyle might find another victim to slaughter. After going through a bit of misunderstanding, Preston tells her he lives not far away and she could call a taxi from his apartment.
So where are you from anyway?
Colorado. Sort of. I had a boyfriend in California. But it didn't work out. So I left. You're the first real artist I've ever met.
Tell that to my agent.
Did he do that?
I had a run-in with a bottle of scotch.
Okay, I got to admit, the actors have good chemistry with one another. Their conversation seems very genuine, and I can actually believe that these two can be a couple. Makes you forget you're watching a horror film altogether. After a night of lovemaking, Preston draws out the gargoyle, having visions of the events that happened as he hides these from Carola, keeping his oath to conceal the secret the monster was ever around. The love grows between the two, especially when she moves in with him. Carola, admiring some of Preston's art from earlier, tells him that she told a friend of a friend about his art. Said friend of a friend owns the biggest and famous art gallery in the city who would love to feature Preston's artwork. In an instant, he becomes a success with his own show. Time has passed after the gallery showing, to the point Carola tells him she's pregnant. How does Preston take the news?
Your child.
Pretty well, actually, that he even asked for her hand in marriage right on the spot. Yet, what's her response?
Will you marry me like this?
Man, these two are a better couple than Tom and Mary from Babes in Toyland. It reminds me of Rosen. I miss him. Of course you would. And whose fault was it that he got hypnotized by Frankie's rotating head and he's gone doing who knows what? Hey, I'm sure it'll be worth it in the end. Right. When Rosen brings me a giant diamond, that'll be the day.
I'm gonna tell her.
Don't you dare. Those two, I will never get them. 10 years later, no, I'm not joking, they jump ahead in the story. It is all Hallows Eve. Preston has become a successful artist, got his old agent back, happily married to Carola, and has 2 wonderful children. Everything's going pretty well, but our artist has been tormented by the memories of the gargoyle, and his vow of silence weighs on him.
There's nothing you could give me that I don't already have.
Yes, there is.
It's here that Preston tells Carola the truth on how he got the scars on his chest when they first met, including the actual cause of Jer's death.
That's what killed Jer. Then it turned on me. I knew I was gonna die, but it spoke. It spoke. It said to me it wouldn't kill me if I promised never to tell anybody what had happened, what I'd seen. So I never told anybody.
And then why are you telling me?
Because you're the most important thing in my life. Because you've brought me 10 years of happiness, 10 years of success, 10 years of a perfect life. I'm telling you because I love you. You deserve everything I can give you. And the only thing I've never given you is the truth.
Preston has told the truth. He has broken his vow with the gargoyle. You all are probably thinking that the gargoyle is going to break in, kill Preston, his wife, and their children for revealing the truth. Or better yet, kill Preston so it leaves Carola alone with their children to raise by herself without her husband and her children's father by her side. Well, I'm actually going to let the scene play and let everything unfold from here. No joking around, folks. This is the honest truth.
What's wrong? I'm not making this up. I'm telling you the truth.
You promised you'd never tell!
Wait a minute, what? Hold up. Carola was the gargoyle the whole time? Yep. And for those of you who guessed the Japanese folklore is based off the Uki-Una, then congratulations. Mainly the Lafcadio O'Hara version of the tale, where the Uki Una was originally a snow ghost, who does kill an elderly woodcutter yet spares the life of the other. Her reason? Because he was young and beautiful, along with having him swear not to tell anyone about the incident, or else she'll kill him. Time passes, he finds a beautiful young lady, they get married and have many children. One night, the young woodcutter does tell his wife the accident that happened to him, where it's revealed at a twist that his wife is indeed Uki Una. Yet in the end, she doesn't kill him because they have children. She tells him to take care of them before melting away and disappearing. And you think, just like in the folklore, the gargoyle will leave Preston alone to raise their children without a mother? Unfortunately, there is no happy ending in this story.
It can't be! No!
After what we witnessed, the story is an overall tragedy. It's a tale about honesty and human weakness. The choices you make, you live with them for the rest of your life. And in this case, it proves to be fatal. It ends with Carola killing Preston before flying off with her children, turning to stone with sorrowful expressions. This mirrors how we first see the gargoyle, not from the alleyway, but from watching the man she loved from a distance, with a smile. But what about the wraparound? Well, once Timmy manages to finish reading the stories, he escapes from his shackles, pushing the wish onto some skewers, before shoving Betty into the oven, Hansel and Gretel style, which burns her alive.
Just love happy endings.
Guess Timmy's going to pursue a career in witch hunting. Anyway, folks, that was Tales from the Darkside, the movie. And in the end, does it still hold up? Well, in my case, I say yes it does. Tales from the Darkside, the movie, is a wonderful anthology film that does well with the material given to them. Minus a couple goofy effects, the practical effects are gorgeous to look at, especially the gargoyle and Carola's transformation sequence. It's very good, showcasing how painful it is for her to turn back into her true form. The cinematography was great with each segment, minus the wraparound, showcased in a different style. Lot 249 had rich colors and deep shadows, reminiscent of Raiders of the Lost Ark, with the movie done like it came straight from a 1940s film. Cat from Hell had monochromatic, almost black and white colors, my favorite technique that I want to see used in horror films more. And Lover's Vow had pastel colors, keeping the feel of love and romance in the story. Each one has a different tone with the style. As such, with an anthology, you can play around tones as contrast to Creepshow. With Creepshow, you had to keep the colors bright as though you were reading a comic book, along with the style. The acting was remarkable in each segment, with each actor having fun in the roles given to them. Placing one favorite on any of these stories is a crime because all of them were credible and fit well into being tales you would find in a horror fiction book. A lot of credit goes to John Harrison, directing his first major picture after doing composing for the first Creepshow and Day of the Dead. Even the crew was working on a small budget at $3.5 million, with the majority of the film taking place in, I kid you not, an abandoned high school in New York. All the shots except for the mansion in the small town were all filmed in this makeshift studio, like Andy and Bellingham's door, mainly the stairway, part of the actual abandoned high school. The film was actually successful that there was going to be a sequel featuring 3 new segments. It would have included 2 stories by Stephen King, Rainy Season and Pinfall, along with Robert Bloch's Almost Human. Unfortunately, it never came to fruition, and sequels never mentioned again. Overall, I recommend you check this film out. It's a good introduction to horror anthology films. Yes, it may not be Creepshow 3, but I actually prefer than what we originally got. Anyway, that's all the time I've got for today, folks. So until next time, I'm Miss Nightmare, and I'll see you all in the next review.